Hey everyone. So recently we got some reveals in BT-13, and there is an archetype that I'm very excited about, and I want to talk about Egeisil 76. So Egeisil is this upcoming Digi-Egg that we're going to get in BT-13, and it is the first ever card that has an effect with activation conditions that activate while in the raising slash breeding area. So this is a very exciting card. Basically, um, there is not confirmation yet, as far as I know, but everyone is speculating that because it has this keyword breeding, it's similar to an area. So, for example, in hand or from trash. So people are speculating that this breeding is just this area location for where the effect triggers and activates. So this is the first card that we have ever gotten in Digimon, where it has effects that activate and resolve while in the breeding area. So let's go over these effects. Breeding, your turn, your Digimon can't Digivolve. So right away you see this penalty. There is no Digivolution in this deck whatsoever. Breeding, your turn, once per turn. When you would play a Digimon card with the Royal Knight trait, you may reduce its play cost by 4. For each of this Digimon's Digivolution cards, reduce the play cost by an additional 1. Breeding, start of your main phase, reveal the top card of your Digi-Egg deck. Place that card and all of your Digimon with the Royal Knight trait under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution cards. So there's some things to break down here. When I first saw this card, I thought that was similar to Mother D Reaper, because when I looked at it, I was like, oh, cool, this Digimon has no level. So it's not technically a level 2. So can't I just push it out into the battle area and have it functionally similar to, let's say, emblems from Magic the Gathering? Like, they just last for the game, they can't be interacted with. Like, it's still a Digimon, but, like, that was my thought process. Can I just, like, push it out into the battle area as though there were emblems? And then someone on Discord told me, no, you can't do that. Because although it doesn't have a level, it's not a level 2. So it could exist in raising in the battle area. It doesn't have any DP. So unlike Mother D Reaper, which does not have a level, but it does have DP, Yggdrasil cannot exist in the battle area because it doesn't have any DP. So you can't push it out. Game mechanics forbid you from pushing it out. Um, but I was like looking at this card. I was like, okay, yeah, this is still pretty fun. It like it can only exist in the raising area. It can't be pushed out. Um, it just cannot leave the raising area at all. And then breaking this down further, when you flip this on your first turn, you think, oh wow, you can reduce something with Royal Knight and its traits by a cost of 4, but that's not entirely true, because right after you flip this open, start of your main phase kicks in. So because you go from the raising slash breeding phase, you flip this over, then you go to the start of your main phase, its effect kicks in, where it takes the top card of your Digi-Egg deck and then places that card underneath itself. So from turn 1, you hatch an Yggdrasil, then start main phase, you put another Yggdrasil 76 right under it. So right on turn 1, you can reduce a Royal Knight's play cost by 5. So it doesn't seem like much, but basically, up to your third turn, you can get your other Yggdrasils under it, so you can reduce a Royal Knight's play cost by 7 each turn. So for example, turn 1 you can reduce by 5, turn 2 you can reduce by 6, turn 3 you can reduce by 7, etc. So like after turn 3, you are just like guaranteed a reduction of 7, as long as your opponent doesn't have any play cost reduction effects out in play, like Psychomon, Solarmon, Chikoriumon. Like as long as they don't have anything that prohibits you from reducing play costs, then your Royal Knights can become very cheap. So this is just a really good archetype to play if you're missing Megazoo, if you just want to play a deck that's focused on just playing a bunch of level 6 Digimon. Like this seems like a very fun deck, especially to me because I just love Megazoo. But because at the start of your main phase you place the top card of your Digi-Egg deck and all of your Digimon of Royal Knight in their traits under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution cards, then you kind of it makes sense for you to also consider ramping. I'm going to get to this inheritable in a second, but the best card that I think you absolutely need to run a full playset of 4 is Magnamon from BT-8. Like this is just like a must-have for the deck. I think that you just have to run a full playset of 4. So it's a 7 cost, 7000 DP blocker. The armor purge does not matter at all. So usually when it's played in its own deck, playing it for 7 costs feels really bad. But because you're playing in an Egeisil deck, then right away you're able to play it for 2 cost on your first turn, 1 cost on your second turn, or 0 costs starting from turn 3 onwards. So it's just like a 2, like at most, if there are no play cost reduction prohibition effects out there, then this thing is going to cost 2 cost at most, and that's on your first turn. So right away you can get this 2 cost 7000 DP blocker out, but sadly it's going to disappear at the start of your next main phase. What's good is that it's going to help you with ramping in Digimon. So you just really want to ramp up the sources that you have under Egeisil 76. So, for example, your first turn, you hatch Egeisil 76. Start main phase, you reveal top card of your Digi-Egg. It's another Egeisil 76. You place it under Egeisil 76, like the one that's like hatched. And then, because you have this Egeisil 76, reduce play cost of a Royal Knight before, you have 1 source under it, then you can reduce the play cost of Magnamon by 5. So this only costs 2 memory to play on your first turn. Your second turn, start of main phase, you reveal another Egeisil 76, place it under, and then you put your Magnamon under this Egeisil 76. So now all of a sudden, instead of reducing play costs by 5 as you would on your first turn, or 6 as you would on your second turn without any additional sources, because you were able to sneak that Magnamon in, then now you can reduce play cost by 7. So because Magnamon is just the cheapest Royal Knight card that we have ever seen, it's just like a must-have for the deck. Because not only is it really cheap and you can just use it for ramping purposes, like you want to get it out early so then you can ramp up your Egeisil 76, but also because it has a blocker. So it also works as a stall engine going on. Because like when I look at Egeisil, it's more like a deck that you have to build up the sources for. You can't really do anything right away. So you also kind of want to stall. So you want to ramp up your sources underneath Egeisil 76. And you also want to stall. So Magnamon BT-8 just seems like the best card to include in this deck. It has a blocker. It's a cheap play cost of 7, which effectively is 2 costs, 1 cost, or 0 costs for this deck. So it's really cheap. It has blocker. It helps you to stall out your opponent. It helps you to ramp really easily under Egeisil 76. And the more sources that you have underneath Egeisil, the cheaper that your other Royal Knights become. And then after like just getting that initial ramp is pretty important. And then this is like the best way, I believe, to get that ramp. Okay, so let's look at this inheritable. Breeding, your turn, once per turn. When you place an option card with the Royal Knight trait in your battle area, gain 1 memory. So this just means... So it doesn't mean this, but I think that's heavily hinting that we will get a delay option with Royal Knight in its traits. We do have one currently. I think it's from Master to Disciple. So this is from Starter Deck 12. It is the only option card so far that we can place in our battle area that has Royal Knight in its traits. But I'm just assuming that we're going to have at least one more delay option with Royal Knight in its traits released in BT-13. So similar to Four Great Dragons, it had Trial of the Four Great Dragons, which was essentially just an option card that you would place into your battle area and then use its delay effect to help with the archetype. When Trial of the Four Great Dragons came out, it didn't look like a great card. So when this came out, it didn't look like a great card because like if you play a Mega Digimon, and then your Mega Digimon is deleted at the end of your opponent's turn, then you can't really attack with it. Like it would just come into play and then it would just be deleted, so it didn't seem like a great card. And then later on, as the set got revealed, we saw more cards that gave it support, like this Gatomon. Your turn, once per turn, when you play a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons and its traits, it gains Rush for the turn. And also Vidramon, same effect. When you play a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons and its traits, one of those Digimon gains Rush for the turn. So one of them is technically an errata, but you know, this, I believe this is like the actual effect. There's a slight nuance. But basically, in this deck, it seemed really bad at first to just play level 6s and then have them be deleted before you get a chance to swing. But then as the set got revealed, we saw 2 inheritables on Vidramon and Gatomon that gave your Digimon that you just played that would be deleted at the end of your opponent's turn. Now you can give them Rush. So then now you can play them and then rush with them. So although it's not revealed yet, I have a very high suspicion that we will get a similar effect to that. So hopefully we get some kind of card that gives our Royal Knights Rush. So then you can ramp up Egeisil. You can play Royal Knights for cheap. And then maybe there's some effect out there that your Royal Knights will have Rush and then they can swing. Because right now, it doesn't look like they can do much after coming into play. But let's just hope that they get Rush. So some of these Royal Knight cards seem underwhelming. Some of them seem really fun. Like, for example, Craniummon that just got revealed has blocker on play. This Digimon isn't affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon until the end of your opponent's turn. End of opponent's turn, you may choose one of your opponent's Digimon. That player attacks with the chosen Digimon. So this is like what Examon wants to do, but better. Like Examon, start of your opponent's turn, your opponent has to declare an attack with a Digimon. Or start of your opponent's turn, they have to declare an attack with a Digimon. But Craniummon, end of opponent's turn, you can choose specifically which Digimon you want your opponent to attack with, and they have to attack with that Digimon if it is able to attack. And because Craniummon has blocker, then basically it's like a doom spell in most games. Like there's like a slight delay. You choose one of your opponent's Digimon to be sacrificed or to be deleted. Like you choose one of them. Like they have to attack with it. And because you have blocker and you're 13,000 DP, you can just on play this, choose anything with lower than 13,000 DP, have it attack, and then block with Craniummon. So this is just a really good removal tech that you can use in your deck. It also got revealed with Waltz's End, or not at the same time, but like very close in timing. Main effect, one of your Digimon gains opponent's turn. When this Digimon becomes suspended, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with play cost less than or equal to this Digimon. And opponent's turn, this Digimon isn't affected by the effects of your opponent's option cards until the end of your opponent's turn. Security effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. So this just works pretty well with Craniummon, which is probably why Craniummon is on the card art. So, for example, you play Craniummon. It has blocker. It's not affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon. Okay. And then you use Waltz's End, assuming you have enough memory. So you also protect Craniummon in addition to protection from Digimon effects. It now has protection from your opponent's option cards. And then you force your opponent to attack with a specific Digimon at the end of their turn. And then, because they attacked, you can now attempt to block it. And because you suspend Craniummon with a 13 play cost, and Waltz's End is active, you delete all of your opponent's Digimon with 13 play costs or less. So that's like a nice little combo they can do. It's like a board wipe, kind of. I don't think that it's actually going to be that great in the deck. It might be better than I think that it is, but that's like a fun little combo. You give Craniummon some extra protection, and then you force one of your opponent's Digimon to attack. When they attack, then you attempt to block it. But then because Craniummon has to suspend to block, then their 13 play cost and less Digimon become deleted. So that's just like a nice little combo they can do. Some of these cards seem underwhelming currently. Some of them seem really good. Like Kentorosmon, I like Kentorosmon a lot. On play, when digivolving, if the total number of both players' security cards is 6 or less, gain 3 memory and reveal 1 card from your hand. If that is a yellow card, place it on the top of your security stack face down. If not, return it to hand. So this is probably the only card currently that allows you to choose which yellow card from your hand to put on top of your security. So there is a similar card out there, Reinforcing Memory Boost, which allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add 1 to hand, add 1 to top of security. So it's similar, but Kentorosmon is the first where you can just place a card from your hand on top of security if it's yellow. So this is fun. I think that would be fun in some yellow builds, not specifically Royal Knight for Egeisil, but like it can be a fun card to just throw into other yellow builds too. It might do well in security control, like if you have some Wyvern's Breaths or if you have Chaos Degrades in your hand, and then you're just like, well, I don't want to play this. You just digivolve it to Kentorosmon. You gain some memory, so Kentorosmon effectively costs 2 memory. Then you just put a Wyvern's Breath on top of your security, for example, or you put a Yellow Tamer on top of your security, or you put a 15,000 out. I'm not sure if there's a 15,000. You just put like a huge Digimon on top of your security stack. Like that's pretty fun too. So Kentorosmon, I really like. If you use it in an Egeisil deck, like the memory gain seems fun. It seems like it can come up, especially later on. Like it might help you to get that 3 memory. So if you can play Kentorismon for cheap or free or very near free, then you just gain 3 memory. It can actually be a net gain of 3 memory, even after you play Kentorismon. So it seems like a fun card to include, for you to play the Kentorismon and then maybe play an option card or play a tamer card after. It has, when attacking once per turn, by trashing 1 card from the top of your security stack, unsuspend this Digimon. While your opponent's Digimon gets minus 7,000 DP for the turn. I don't like that effect that much. Like there are other Royal Knights out there with better effects, but because it has both effects on it, it makes it more versatile. So it can be a card that can actually be better than I think. But I think that it's good because of its gain 3 memory and possibly recovering 1 yellow card from your hand to your security stack effect. Like I think that that's like the better effect, but this might be handy in some situations. The Alphamon. So by placing 1 Digimon card with the X antibody or Royal Knight trait from your trash underneath this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card, until the end of your opponent's turn, your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 10 or more can't attack a player. So this Alphamon also helps you to stall out your opponent. I'm not quite sure how this deck is supposed to be built. Like, it's possible that there is some incentive to mill your cards and put them into your trash. For example, the Jesmon line plays a bunch of Sistermons from your trash. So if you go that route, then you might focus on milling. But just in case one of your Royal Knights happens to end up in your trash, some ways I do not know. Maybe you do use Master to Disciple, for example, and then you get some Royal Knights in your trash. Then you can just play Alphamon and then stop your opponent from attacking you if their Digimon have play costs of 10 or more. So this effect doesn't seem like it's that great. All turns once per turn, when this Digimon would leave the battle area by effect by placing 1 card with the X antibody or Royal Knight trait from this Digimon's Digivolution card to the bottom of its owner's deck, prevent it from leaving play. It doesn't seem great. Like, you can use that effect to keep it from being sucked in by your Egeisil. Like, that is something that you can do, so you can sneak in a 12k DP attack. But I don't think that it's like good enough. You know, it might be something fun. But I think that the stalling effect is really good. You know, maybe this actually does come up, and because you can strip its Royal Knight source from under it, and then you can now keep it on the field, and then you can attack your opponent with it. It might be a good tech. But right now, my favorite one so far is Craniummon. The blocking, end of opponent's turn, you can force your opponent to attack with a specific Digimon, so you can forcibly delete that Digimon. So this is really good removal. This is really good ramp. This is possible memory gain. I would not play too many of these. But if you just throw in enough, then you can gain 3 memory when you need to gain 3 memory. Alphamon, yeah, it's good for stalling. If needed, then you can also attack your opponent with it. Like, I questioned myself, but now I'm starting to think maybe this is good after all. Especially if you are milling yourself a lot, then you can just sneak in a free attack. You might as well, right? Yeah. So, you know, I'm thinking about maybe it is good. So there are some cards that rely on Sistermons, like Gunkomon plays a Sistermon from your trash or one Digimon card with Roll Knight in its traits from the Digivolution cards of your opponent of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying its play cost. And you can't play Omnimon or Gankamon with this effect, which makes sense because if you have a bunch of Gankamons underneath it, like you can just on play another Gankamon on play another Gankamon on play. So it's good that they kind of stopped you from that, because assuming that there is some kind of effect that gives your Digimon rush, then you're just rushing your opponent with 4 Gankamons in one turn, which is really good. But yeah, that it kind of makes sense why they stopped you from playing Gankamon. And Omnimon is just good most of the time. It's like a level 7 compared to like the other 6 Royal Knights, the other level 6 Royal Knights. So I kind of think that makes sense. But it also makes me suspect that they might make like an Omnimon in BT-13 with an on-play effect. Like, here's hoping that they do. But yeah, there are some archetypes out there that play Sistermons. So while you are ramping your Royal Knights underneath Egeisil, you can also attack with Sistermons. You can play Sistermons. I know the Sistermon Blanc from BT6 has the effect that gives all of your Sistermons blocker as long as you have a Royal Knight out in play. So because you're just playing a bunch of Royal Knights, hopefully every turn, then your Sistermons will have blocker, so they also serve as a stall mechanic, or a stall, like some kind of stall way to stop your opponent from attacking your security. And then I was thinking about it, but X program might actually be a great card in this deck. So because you're just using Egeisil as your egg, then you are just guaranteed being able to play X program at any moment, because you will always have a white source in play. Egeisil will not leave your raising area. Egeisil will always be active, so you can just always use X program. Delete one Digimon without X antibody in its traits. If there are 3 or more Digimon in play, delete all Digimon without X antibody in their traits instead. Security. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon without X antibody in its traits. So at worst, you have an option card that's a little worse than Gaia Force. You can delete a Digimon as long as it doesn't have X antibody in its traits. But if there are 3 or more Digimon out and you're being bombarded by Digimon, for example, Bloom Lordmon or Commandramon, well, not really Commandramon, but maybe. But if you're being bombarded by 3 or more Digimon, X program is not a terrible option to use, because depending on which route you go when you're building this deck, you might not have any Digimon out in the battle area. Like, you might have some Tamers out, and you might just be focusing on stalling. But yeah, maybe you don't have any Digimon out. So X program is a board wipe with very little drawback to you. So it seems like a good card to use in this deck. Alt Delete is also an interesting choice to consider, because Omnimon is also a Royal Knight. So you can reduce costs to play Omnimon pretty easily. And then late game, when your opponent has invested so much of their resources in playing Tamers, or so much of their resources in building up a Digimon, or swarming the field of Digimon, you can probably get an Omnimon out, depending on how late in the game it is and how much sources you have under Egeisil. You can play Omnimon for fairly cheap. If it's super late game, then yeah, you can play All Delete after playing Omnimon, and then return your Omnimon to your hand and delete all Digimon and Tamers. So based on what kind of build you're running, you might not be focusing on swarming the field of Digimon like Sistermons, or you might not be focused on getting Tamers out. So the harm in getting rid of many of your opponent's Tamers versus maybe getting rid of one of your Tamers is very little to you, but it can actually matter a lot to just board wipe your opponent's field with Aldo. It might seem like a good option card, but again, we don't really know how this deck will function. But it's just an option card to consider. While you are building your resources in the breeding area, and your opponent is building their resources out in the battle area, you can play Omnimon for cheap, and then All Delete to delete all their tamers that they've been sinking their last few turns into. So this seems like a good option card for the deck. I'm also pretty excited about BT-13 Craniummon. So Craniummon has existed for a while. It was good in Ragnalordmon decks back then, or in Megazoo decks back then. But it has since waned in popularity. It did have a spot on the second anniversary set on Premium Bandai. I thought it was kind of weird. But now that they now that they leaked BT-13, I'm like, okay, I can see why this Craniummon is coming back. So it is a 13 play cost, 12,000 DP, Digivolves for 4. Has blocker. Your Digimon with blocker can't be deleted by your opponent's effects. So if there are several ways to build this, like for example, if you're building around Magnamon and this BT-13 Craniummon, and depending on what effects we see in BT-13 that have not been revealed to us yet, it might be helpful for you to protect your blockers from being deleted by your opponent's effects. Or, if you're playing the Sistermon route, then you just want to include Sistermon Blanc from BT6. While you have a Digimon of Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its type in play, all of your Digimon of Sistermon and their names gain blocker. So you can just play a bunch of cheap blockers, and then Craniummon just protects them from deletion effects. So, it might be a nice include. Currently, I'm not saying much about it because we don't know what the set will include later on. But it does seem like a nice include if you're going the Sistermon route. If you're also going the Sistermon route, Leopardmon also seems like a nice include. Your turn, all of your level 4 or lower Digimon gain jamming. So Sistermon Blanc is level 3, Sistermon CL is level 4. All your Sistermons gain jamming. So that's a pretty good effect to consider. It might not be the best effect, but it is useful if you're going the Sistermon route. And technically, Magnamon also has jamming. It probably doesn't matter as much. But assuming that we can give our Royal Knights Rush, it might matter. Gallantmon is pretty good. Assuming that we have Rush, we can just play Gallantmon and then trash an opponent's security card for every 10 cards in their trash. That's a pretty nice effect. Cantorusmon on deletion. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 11,000 DP for the turn. Lord Knightmon doesn't seem that great. There has been a purple Lord Knightmon that has been revealed. It is not up on DigimonCard.dev yet because the image that was revealed was not that great. So I'm assuming that they didn't put it up yet because we don't really have a good image of the purple Lord Knightmon. But basically on play you can return a Lucamon in its name from your trash to your hand, or a Royal Knight in its traits from your trash to your hand. So it might be worth considering this yellow Lord Knightmon if you're playing the yellow Lucamon level 3. So it can come up. I don't think that this is amazing for the Egeisil deck. I don't think that it's going to work out that great. And then the Lord Knightmon, the purple one, when you are attacked by an opponent's Digimon, I believe once per turn during their turn, then you gain 1 memory for each Royal Knight you have out. Don't don't quote me on that. Let me pull it up right now. On play, when digivolving, you may return one card with Lucemon in its name or Royal Knight in its traits from your trash to your hand. Opponent's turn once per turn when opponent's Digimon attacks for each of your Digimon with Royal Knight and its traits in play, gain 1 memory. Okay, so I was right. So it's a 12 cost, 11,000 DP. Digivolves for 3 on top of level 5 purple. Mega, Virus, Holy Warrior, Royal Knight. So it doesn't seem that great, but it might come up. A set like pending support that we see in the set. This is just good if you're playing the Sistermon route. When attacking, you play a Sistermon and its name for your hand or trash without paying its memory cost. And then when you play a Digimon, another Digimon, then you get plus 3,000 DP and piercing. So it's like 14,000 DP piercing that when you attack, basically you got Sistermon. I don't think that this is great for the deck, honestly. Alphamon might be a fun include, because most of the time you will have a Royal Knight in play. Then if this is in your security, then you can just stop up to 12 of your opponent's Digimon from attacking players of the turn. It might not be that great because it doesn't really stop hybrids, and it doesn't stop DNA Digivolved Digimon. It seems fun. It might be a fun tech, but I wouldn't go too heavy on this. Actually, no, it might actually be better than I thought. So it's 13 play cost, 11,000 DP. But end of attack, you gain 2 memory. So that actually might be good. It's like a slightly weaker than Craniummon effect, but more reliable than Craniummon effect. So I can actually see this being played. The security thing might not be that great, but you can consider it a bonus. Because like if you're playing this deck, your opponent might figure out, okay, my opponent is playing a bunch of megas. I should not attack until I go to my own mega. So they might wait to attack you, and then because they waited, like they put their resources into one singular Digimon, it might be worth consideration that just stopping that Digimon from continuing to attack you is good. But even if it's not good, then it's just like a nice little bonus effect they can have with it. But the end of attack gain 2 memory is pretty good. This just basically trashes the top card of your opponent's security stack, or deletes one 6,000 DP or less Digimon that your opponent has. It also has raid, but I don't think the raid comes up that much. There are just some other cool cards that you can consider, but I don't think that anything really blows me away as much as the Magnamon from BT-8. This is just really good for ramping early game. It's really good for stalling mid game because it's a blocker. This Craniummon is just like a death sentence to other Digimon. Like as blocker, it isn't affected by your opponent's Digimon's effects. I don't know what effects would even affect Craniummon. I mean, like maybe stunning or something, but assuming that it has rush, then stunning doesn't really help. Oh, it does bypass Hexablaumon. So if your opponent is playing Hexablaumon, for example, that has the effect if all of your opponent's Digimon with no sources can't attack, then Craniummon, if it is given rush, it can attack because it would not be affected by Hexablaumon. But there's very little effects that would stop Craniummon anyways. But this is essentially a really good blocker / death sentence. You can choose one of your opponent's Digimon. Like that Digimon will attack you at the end of your opponent's turn. Like there's no getting around that. And then if they attack you, then you can block with it and just get rid of that Digimon. So Craniummon, I would probably run a full playset of. I'm just going to mark this to make it easier to see. I would probably run a full playset of Magnamon. Cantorasmon doesn't seem that great, but I'd probably run like 2 or 3. Alphamon is better than I initially thought. Maybe 2, 3 if you're playing a mill strategy. X program seems pretty good. I would probably run 3. All delete only if you're playing like a Magnamon strategy, and this is also pending what Omnimon support we're getting. Craniummon, like this seems pretty good, honestly. I would probably run 3, maybe 4 of these BT-13 Craniummons, just because even if you don't protect other Digimon from blocker, with blocker from effects, then you can protect this Craniummon from being delayed by your opponent's effects. So maybe 3 or 4, honestly. Some of these Digimon have pretty good when attacking / on deletion effects, but nothing really blows me away that much. Magnamon, like I think you just have to have 4. Craniummon, I think you just have to have 4. Egeisilmon, definitely you have to have 4. This is like there's not really any reason to run less than 4 Egeisilmons. Egeisil 76. I keep calling it Egeisilmon, like it's Egeisil 76. Cantorasmon, based on your build, I don't want to go too much on this. Like it seems like it's fun, for just gaining 3 memory. Like you probably will not recover that much. But if you, for example, ran Yellow Tamers, and then you want to go a more stall heavy / recovery route, then Cantorasmon might actually be better in a more yellow focused build. Alphamon might be better if you ran purple rookies with on deletions, like Impmon, for example, or some kind of way to get cards in your trash, like even Master to Disciple, like Alphamon would be better. So depending on what kind of build you run, you can run more Cantorasmon, more Alphamons. Jesmon, it doesn't seem that great, honestly. Maybe if you're playing a bunch of Sistermons and you're swarming the field, then it would be better. Same with Gankamon, it doesn't seem that great. Oh, actually, no, I take it back. Gankamon actually seems better than I thought. Yeah, I take it back. Wow. I am reading this effect again. So you can play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon and its name from your trash, or 1 Digimon card with the Royal Knight trait from the distribution cards of your Digimon in your breeding area without paying its play cost. So first, it is a blocker, so that's already pretty good. And because you can play other Digimon from your distribution cards, for example, if your Craniummon is under your Egeisilmon, then you can effectively have another death sentence out on the field. And then you can just force your opponent to attack the Digimon at the end of their turn. So, oh wow, this Gankamon recycles the effect of your Craniummon. Or if you play this Gankamon and then this BT-13 Craniummon is underneath Egeisilmon, you can just bring this Craniummon out, and now Craniummon and Gankamon cannot be delayed by your opponent's effects. So actually, this seems better than I thought that it was, actually. Like, there is a chance that you are slowing yourself down, because if, for some reason, you remove a source from Egeisil, and then Gankamon and that source are removed, then you are now slowed. But, it can be helpful. Maybe you want to gain 3 memory if the situation is right. Or maybe you just want to stop your opponent from attacking you with play cost of 10 or more Digimon. Or, you want to have your opponent's Digimon be deleted. Or you want to protect Gankamon from deletion effects. Like, actually, Gankamon is actually good. And then if we have Rush, and then you have this Gankamon out, you're just like, you know what? I'm very close to winning this game, but I am missing one extra Digimon. So you play this Gankamon, and then from play of Gankamon, you play, for example, I'm looking for the Jasmine. Jasmine from BT-6, and then on, and then if they gain rush, you can attack with this Jasmine. Then you play a Sistermon. Then you attack with this Gankamon, and then now you have that Sistermon in play too. So maybe you have the Sistermon that gives you decoy to protect Gankamon, and also Jasmine. Like there are some fun stuff they can do with this Gankamon that I did not consider before. But honestly, Magnamon, I would say you need a full playset. Craniummon, you need a full playset. This Craniummon seems pretty good. I would run 3 to 4. Egeisil, definitely need a full playset. Gankamon seems fun. It seems better than I actually thought that would be. So I would probably run a full playset of this. I might actually go like the blocker route, go with Craniummon, Magnamon, Gankamon. So I think that I'll stall rather than focus on recovery. Like this is probably my preferred route. I do also want to mention that Mother D Reaper is an interesting include. Like if you wanted to run a 5th egg, because hear me out, the chances of you hatching a Mother D Reaper on turn 1 is 1 out of 5. So there's a 20% chance that you will hatch a Mother D Reaper, and there's an 80% chance that you will hatch an Egeisil. Okay? So instead of being able to only put 3 sources under your Egeisil, if you throw in a Mother D Reaper as your 5th egg, then you can put 4 sources under. Now the risks might seem like it's not worth it, but I think that this is worth consideration for some decks. Okay, so let's say the worst thing happens, and then you throw this Mother D Reaper into your deck. So then you get that extra bit of ramp. Like you want that extra memory cost reduction of 1. So you just throw this in there. You're just like, you know what? I'm playing on my locals. It's like a 2 out of 3 format anyway. So even if I get like unlucky one game, like it's still fine, right? So you can throw this in if you want to go like the stall route. Then worst case scenario, you hatch into this right away. Then you are slowed down, but it doesn't stop you in your strategy. Like if you build your deck around it, like if instead of focusing solely on Royal Knights, you throw in a bunch of Tamers, for example. You throw in some ADR09 Gatekeepers, for example. And then you're just like, okay, yeah, this is fine. You hatch it on turn 1. You bring it out on turn 2. On turn 3, then you can start doing your Egeisils. So your Egeisils are 2 turns behind. So it doesn't seem that bad, especially if in the beginning of the game, like your first 4 turns or so, you're just playing Tamers and you're just setting up your hard playing Digimon. So depending on what kind of build you're running, it's not a terrible idea to throw in a Mother D Reaper as your 5th egg, especially if you're going the stall/recovery route. But if you want consistency, don't play Mother D Reaper. I think that Mother D Reaper is worth considering, because if you have no Digivolution sources that can Digivolve off of like any other Digi-Egg, you can just like push Mother D Reaper out of your raising area. So at worst, you're just like slowed 2 turns, but you can still reliably get Mother D Reaper out. And if you are playing the recovery route, then your Gatekeepers and security just give you recovery +1. So that's like, that's fun. If you are running Sistermons from the starter deck, then you can trash 1, draw 2. So it doesn't hurt you that much to have gatekeepers in your hand. Like if you're playing Sistermons in your deck, then you just get rid of gatekeepers. But it really depends on how you want to build this deck. Like for me right now, I'm very interested in playing 4 Egeisils, probably 4 Gankamons, 4 Craniummons definitely, 4 Magnamons definitely, and 3 or 4 Craniummons from BT-3. Like this is what I'm excited about. Probably I will play X Program because it just seems like a great card for the deck. Pending Omnimon support, All Delete doesn't seem terrible. Because I'm mainly building my resources and raising. If my opponent is playing a whole bunch of Tamers, for example, then I can sneak in a cheap Omnimon out into the field, then All Delete. Then I can just delete 3 or more of their Tamers. I already consider that a net benefit. Like, this is a fun archetype. I am very excited to see more support come out for it. But yeah, mark my words. Magnamon from BT-8 will spike in price between now and BT-13 release in Japan. As soon as it releases in Japan and the people see how good Magnamon actually is, then there might be a slight spike in Magnamon BT-8 prices in the West. And then after that, after we actually get BT-8 in the West, and then we actually see firsthand how good Magnamon is in this deck, then at that point, the price will spike even more. So mark my words. Pick up Magnamon while you can. Because this thing, you just have to run 4 of in Egeisil decks. And it's also run in Armor Rush decks. It's run in Magnamon X Antibody decks. So it's just like a general good Digimon to have. I suspect very strongly that will spike once people realize how good it is in this deck and how it serves a ramping purpose, how it serves a stalling purpose. So yeah, like honestly, you just need to have 4 Magnamons. I think that this is probably the best Digimon they can have in this deck. But yeah, this was my talk on Egeisilmon. Like these are just my opinions, but I'm excited for the set. I did the math out, and you can reliably get a playset of each super rare by purchasing 6 boxes. Like I recently just opened up 6 boxes of BT-11. I haven't uploaded the video yet, but I will soon. But apparently 7 super rares each box times 6 equals 42 super rares. 10 super rares per set divided by 4 for a playset. So you're going to get like on average a playset of each super rare by buying 6 boxes. And with this set, you know, depending on what support we see, it actually might be the deck where you kind of need a whole bunch of super rares. Like I probably want 4 Craniummons. For example, like this, I'm actually very excited about now that it is getting a golden art in the 2nd anniversary set because I bought those sets. So now I am going to run a whole bunch of golden art Craniummons in BT-13. So that seems fun. But yeah, play early game, ramp, block, 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 block. This also acts as removal. This acts as a way to access your other effects. For example, if you access this Craniummon, you get more removal. And this acts as just a way to protect your blockers. Like, this seems like a fun deck. And then if we get something that gives them rush, it will be even better. It will be really good. It will be really fun. Okay, so I'm going to end this recording now. But yeah, I'm excited for this upcoming Egeisil BT-13 deck. And I will update you all once BT-13 comes out and I have assembled my Egeisil deck. Like, I don't even care if it's like a bad deck. I will still build it because it just seems like such a fun archetype to me. But yeah, I will see you later. Mark my words. Buy Magnamon while you can. Okay. Yeah, see you later.